It's happening again.
We're back.
We're back with a new habitat. What happened? Did we take a break?
Yeah, we take just a short break, like 1 year and a couple of months.
Okay, but we are
It's not
still
bad.
we're still the same.
We are the same, and we changed a lot at the same time. I see you are in a different environment. I'm also in a new environment, and we've been into the new habitat already for I don't know, almost about 20 months.
Yes, this new habitat has been taking over. Hello from actually not Berlin anymore, because legally I'm outside of Berlin, in the countryside, in Brandenburg.
Wonderful. Guten Abend.
Guten Abend.
And hello from Astoria, Queens, one of the five boroughs of New York City.
That is so nice to hear. And we still have our little ident that tells our names here and our website.
Yeah,
So nothing has
special
changed.
effect. No, I
Everything,
mean, it's not the new habitat anymore. It's the habitat.
it's done. It's finished.
It's over.
It's
It's
over.
actually the metaverse.
No, I'm not ready for the metaverse, my friend.
It's the metaverse. We didn't come up with that concept, or because we have a totally different opinion about the future and technology. But yeah, it's already the habitat. And what is interesting is that in the past, what was that, 13 months, we didn't air this thing. We were actually just spending time day by day at observing and studying what's happening with the working society, with the private life, with our expressions on the internet and in the reality. Yeah, it's very fascinating. There is a lot of stuff that happened, and basically we had to reinvent what we do for the hundredth time in our career.
Yes, and I just in the last month I reinvented it again another time because for instance in the last month I went back to the meeting room with physical clients and it was amazing. And I did completely different things from what I was doing in the hybrid world, but I also did completely different things than the ones that I was doing before. Because now I really realize what an asset it is to have people in a room, and I will never let them be silent or never let them not interact and not get value from the interaction.
I'm very envious because the step didn't happen yet in my case. I mean, I went to a terrific football tournament 2 weeks ago, and I could share physical space with 750 athletes and get tackled and push and bounce and kick. And I mean, yes, that's my environment. So in person and also very close to other people. The last thing I've done in video was just last week, no, also 2 weeks ago, teaching uh, UCLA students and from Zoom. And the very interesting thing is that I was very relaxed, so I got very used to the medium, and I could share even more humanity if possible through that medium. But I also expressed the need of seeing these people, and so my work is changing because now I'm trying to focus on the exact time when everyone will be some way reconnect in person, and I would love to be there.
Yes, and I think they would love to have you because what I realized from the first glimpses that I've seen here in Germany of the reopening and the slow reopening of the offices, with all the current strange conditions and QR codes and all the other amenities, is that people want to really take advantage in a different way of this fact of being in the same space. But maybe this is a good moment for a little aside. Not everybody's doing it right. So there's companies that are opening their offices, they're asking their employees to come in, and then they're telling them, continue doing what you were doing at home. So connect with your colleagues that are not in the office, because we are not allowed to fully open. And so the colleagues will be, your own team will be at home while you're in the office for safety reasons. So you won't be able to connect with your team while you're there. Plus, you are actually in your old open office, so it's unsafe in a way. Plus, in this open office, you will be constantly on calls. And so you're going to be disturbing all of your colleagues, and your colleagues will be disturbing you all of the time because you're constantly on calls. So there are companies that are reopening right now, and they're doing it completely wrong. They're taking the worst of the COVID hybrid work model, and they are bringing it back to the office. So you commute, you pollute, you spend money just to be uncomfortable instead of being comfortable.
So there is these, if you can try to envision what you talked about, probably the open space office is not open yet, but definitely the rule is those who have an office with a door, physical door, they can go back to the office, and then they can just run the daily schedule. And the daily schedule is perhaps having Zoom calls with someone who works for the same company and is physically in the same building, locked in his or her room behind the door, Zooming with someone who is probably just at the end of the aisle. And that's kind of an absurdity. That Yeah, well, I mean, it becomes an element of research if we have to offer solutions to these companies to make things work more fluently. More than companies, I have to say, they probably also organizations like educational organizations. So this is the scenario you've described is very typical in college. In any college in the United States now, the employees of the college, the administrators, are working behind the door in their office, and they're interacting with students who are at home.
Yeah.
So students are not going back. And yeah, it's going to be interesting now to think about the hybrid work or the hybrid teaching as a concept, and then see when does it make sense to reunite everyone for the magic moment, for the uh, extraordinary learning moment. I've been working with a professor at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia, who is like Italian, as we are, and she teaches Italian. And during the pandemic, we collaborated, and we were doing some of my stuff, embodied learning, built into an Italian lesson for uh, uh, intermediate Italian students. And we wanted to check the impact of learning bodily and physically a language. And now we've been writing an article for an academic paper, just to put down all the observations we have done. And yeah, it's pretty interesting seeing how now these professors trying to figure out how to continue working on a hybrid model, because she knows there will be just part of the students getting back to campus. And then the big question is, when should we gather and have this moment of learning together, and
And
how
what
can we build a curriculum that arrives to a point where everybody gathers and has an impact.
Yeah,
uh,
doing
and
something
and and
meaningful in
and
this
experience
moment.
something incredibly meaningful where the curriculum blooms all of a sudden after 12 units because we are all together and we can make one more step forward because of the togetherness. And since I'm doing this, then I'm thinking of our private conversations about how can we do that for the work environment, for the workplace situation. So when is the right moment to get everybody together because your company, your organization needs to make one step forward into the future, the near future?
Well, I
How
think
can your company do better because people are together maybe once a year?
I think there's organizations that are doing it right. Since before we were talking about who's doing it wrong, for sure, education has one of the toughest jobs ever. We've already, I think, discussed also here on the New Habitat the idea that learning is also socialization, is also being part of a group, and all of this is not present in a hybrid classroom or in a hybrid campus. Even though you might have virtual events and virtual get togethers and virtual retreats, that's not something that you can have without the physical presence. I think that companies might have an easier time. However, they have a few keywords and a few key concepts that they have to get right. The first one is really to understand what is the type of freedom that their employees need. Because if I have a large family and a small house, I need the freedom to go to the office. If I want to work remotely and have a situation where I can have my own office overlooking the woods, etc., I want to work remotely. I don't want to have to go to the office necessarily. In all of this, so individual employee preferences matter a lot right now. And in order to still have a company culture and still have a feeling that you work for X and not for Y, you also need to have these moments where everybody comes together. And I think once a year is too long. Once every month wouldn't be probably possible if you have people that are remote, but you need to find the right moment, the right location, and the right activities to invite your employees to whatever their preference. Do they prefer to go to the office, or do they prefer to work a hybrid at home or at their own co-working space remotely somewhere on the planet? But then when they get together, you have to give them something special. And this something special for sure is just simply the connection that you can get if you share a meal, if you spend some time together, but also the right activities, the right drive, the right energy. I think one of the most important concepts that we're going to work for the next 10 years is what happens to company culture after this tsunami of virtual teams and hybrid work. What is the new company culture that emerges? And it's a company culture that needs to convince people to join the company, that needs to motivate people to stay inside the company. It's a company culture that needs to allow these people to say, yeah, I work for Apple, I don't work for Microsoft. In a world where if everything is hybrid, everything is remote, you might be working for anyone and you might not even notice the difference.
Uh, so it's interesting because I'm hearing someone who is used to think out of the box, and it's very helpful talking out loud these thoughts. Just uh, just because I'm realizing if I have a conversation with the C-suite and I need to explain what you said, then first I need to walk some big manager outside the box. So I need them to help to think the way you think, and I need to simplify that. And now, while you were talking, I was thinking of something that happened to me many years ago when I used to work for an organization in Germany, uh, which was a museum. And I remember that it was kind of a amazing, quirky place. And there was one of the administrators, the person who was responsible for the for offering professional development training to other business, to outside businesses. He used to have a shared office in which he was working as the first person in the world, probably on a standing desk, without having a computer. So he was writing in standing, basically. This is what he was doing, and close to a window, so he could look at nature. And he loved to work barefoot. So now think about the basic rules of company culture uh, in an office like The Office, the sitcom. I mean, you immediately have a screenwriter that would make an episode about that guy. Like, oh, that's the weirdo. Well, the weirdo is the new habitat. This is the way you need to approach the C-suite and say, look, the guy that performs barefoot close to the window where he can see nature has been bringing, I don't know, a volume of $2 million a year of new customers because he can do it that way. So you mentioned basically two things that are fundamental: the connecting people every now and then in a form of retreat where everyone feels comfortable. So the guy barefoot can come to the retreat barefoot. It doesn't have to comply with any other general rules that conform to the old idea of office. And then a thought in a thought. Basically, what you are explaining to your public is that the concept of benefit has changed, because if if I want to work barefoot, uh, and maybe sometimes I need to use an office space, and I need to go there, and I want to work barefoot, I will choose the company that allows me to do that and names that as a benefit. It's like, we really do care about your freedom of expression in a professional way within your private needs. And uh, and then the retreat itself becomes a benefit, because it's not only about having fun and going to a place where you can drink beers and throw axes against the wall, uh,
Which is also fun.
which is also fun. But it's not only that. So it's like, can we share some way uh, the passion that everyone puts into work by being themselves? So basically, it's an exchange of awarenesses, and I think there you can find a lot of energy that at the moment, well, it's probably very low still because people are trying to orientate, and it definitely went low as soon as Zoom turned on, because people were trying to be private and at work at the same time by following an etiquette and an etiquette of the office that is gone. I mean, very happy that it's gone. uh, yeah, so we have new benefits. One benefit is respecting the needs of the employee and offering it as a benefit, and then trying to get all the employees together in the form they are, and make sure that they understand that value of reconnecting in person is generated also by the exchange of awarenesses that
Yeah,
these people are bringing in the room.
and well, what I imagine the ideal way of doing this exchange of awarenesses is with a guide like you. So the need is we have to see each other as complete human beings rather than little letterboxes inside a Zoom conference. And we need to be there with the whole of our identity, the whole of our needs, um, and with the whole of our expectations in a context where usually we had compartmentalized. We This is life, that is work. Separate. What is your life work balance? And now we need a guide to see each other as a team, to see each other as a company, but also to see each other as individuals, establish new boundaries. There should be a boundary between life and work, but this boundary is crushed by your motivation. If you are barefoot and looking at the woods and you're standing desk and you're enjoying what you're doing, that's your motivation. It's not your paycheck. It's not the reward mechanism of the company. It's not your OKRs, KPIs, or whatever other measurement tool is being used in the company. It comes from inside. And I see no better way to see, to let what's inside come out in a friendly, in a peaceful, in a non-conflicting, non-violent, and um, serene way than going through the process of discovering our needs through our body, discovering our gaze, discovering simple physical interactions. And yeah, I think, well, so my recipe for every company would be uh, book a session with Tommaso and for your teams before you open, or the day you open, or the day you want to do a retreat. But maybe today we can give some tips around this, um, especially because now the word embodied, since July, I was doing a little bit of online research while we were talking.
Uh-huh.
Since July, Mark Zuckerberg is launching the embodied, his vision for the embodied internet. And he recently went on the stage at Facebook Connect to introduce us to the new holding company, Meta, but especially to reinforce this concept of the metaverse as the space of the future. And so there is a virtual space of the future that is called embodied. How do you feel about that?
Uh, well, I'm very honored that Mark Zuckerberg is using a term that I, by absolute chance, I used to translate from German into English what I used to do like 7 8 years ago. So it's very interesting that uh, embodied has becoming a buzzword, a trendy thing, which makes me hope that embodied learning will be soon a very trendy thing instead of serving a niche of freaks of mind body interaction. And well, the interesting thing is that his vision is uh, to create a parallel space where bodies visually meet, but actually the minds stay very solidly in the physical space where they can wear a visor, and that's home, that's comfort. And I go back, I would love to go into the C suite at Meta and say, well, then it would work for my colleague who was barefoot and next to the window. He wouldn't see the window because he would have visors on his face. And you have to make sure that you put also the the bare feet in his avatar in that parallel body space that he wants to create, to have the embodied internet, so that you can have uh, energy building, value building, constant team building that works. And I don't want to be only skeptical about that, because imagine we wouldn't have metaverse. We would be just trying to design the near future of work, collaboration, and team awareness. Uh, so one thing that was pretty common pre-pandemic was that people after work, or maybe before work, do something together. So work colleagues, those who used to meet and run 10 kilometers or 5 miles before going to work. Those who used to meet after work and go to yoga class. Those who used to meet and go to the bar and get drunk. Okay. So now we have a totally different dynamic. So people will be hybrid. They won't meet at the lobby and go together to do things. But by meeting either in the metaverse, in the meta world, or just in a retreat as remote workers every now and then, they will be able to talk about their passions and then express their values and say, oh, look, I have been performing really well because I found that specific mentor, that specific gym, that specific cooking channel that really helps me thrive. And that conversation will be sticking into someone else's head, and they will probably try separately from their colleagues to follow the same pathway. So there is a lot of energy that you can bring in the room. In theory, you can bring it also in the space that Mark Zuckerberg is envisioning. You just need to make sure that you put it as as a component of that environment. Because what I've heard in the announcement, but I have watched just a shortcut, a cut part of the video of the announcement of Meta and all the products that Meta wants to produce. I mean, they're thinking about the physical features. They're thinking about body language in a way that is replicating the body language in the office pre-pandemic. They're not really thinking of values that are sustainable for the future of co-working, even in a virtual space. So yeah, it's I just, it's interesting. I mean, I will continue observing. I would love to chat with some engineer who is coordinating all these new projects and planning to enhance some way that there is no right and wrong if you try things, so enhance some way uh, uh, the importance of physicality in workspaces. So yeah, I don't know if someone out there at Meta is seeing these. Just give me a call, drop me a line, because it could be interesting to work about the value of togetherness on a virtual platform and on a real platform as well. I wish these people that are working on the virtual platform at Facebook or at Meta, sorry, have the chance to gather any 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah, and
because
enjoy the
and
connection.
and feel, perceive the energy that they're creating in that room of brainstormers and put it into different platforms. So basically, you don't need to make a list of potential things that could be cool. You just need to embody that brainstorming meeting and then track all the data that you create there and then put them into the metaverse parallel thing that is happening. What do you think?
Well, one aspect is that it's very easy to look at this metaverse and criticize it, right, from the outside, because we don't have the vision. So here is a company that is struggling because it's a company that has a very big privacy, it has a very big image problem, and so it's a company that is rebranding. So and it's rebranding really quickly because it doesn't want to be associated with the scandals. So Facebook is now
Mm-hmm.
synonym of scandal. At the same time, you have a company that is all about innovation, and this is a company that has billions and billions of dollars to invest, and they decided to invest them into this aspect of connecting people. So the idea of connecting people in a world similar to Ready Player One. So a world where everybody, in order to do something, they don't go out of the house, they go into the metaverse. And we are talking about a company that, if you want to criticize them, is a company that doesn't have a physical platform. And so the problem that they have is that Apple shuts them off their phones with their new iOS update, and they are sort of lacking the last mile. They're lacking the last connection to the users. They don't have any device that they can put in the hands of the users. And Google has the device, and Microsoft also, in a smaller manner, has the device. And so this company is missing, that tactile. Obviously, Apple has the best device and is missing that tactile connection that really creates a dependency. Now, if you and me, we imagine somebody takes away the capabilities of our iPhone, we would feel bad. We would have a fulfilling life anyway, but we would feel pretty bad for a while. On the other hand, let's talk about hardware for a second. So today, in order to connect to the metaverse, basically you have to sit down because you would probably lose your balance. So the guy with the standing desk or us, we're out of the picture. And then you have to place a thing on top of your eyes. It closes the view completely. It gets sweaty. It isolates you, etc. But uh, Mr. Zuckerberg has a vision of devices that will soon sort of disappear in front of our eyes. And since he lost the battle of the phone, of the physical device, what he's aiming for is for the non-physical device. So for a virtual layer that could be just a pair of glasses, but even less than a pair of glasses probably. And the metaverse that he's creating today, since it's a platform, needs to sustain the technology of the future that right now he's in no position to announce, to explain. He's in no position to show us the direction, because hardware is very, very hard. It's very complicated. Sorry for the involuntary pun, but
Now that's why they called it hardware.
yeah, maybe that's why they call it hardware. And a company like Apple is excelling at creating hardware because it has been creating hardware for 40 years. Overnight success, 40 years in the making. And so, with having said all of this, it's too easy to criticize the metaverse. It is an interesting direction for connection, and it is very interesting to think that a company with what we think almost unlimited resources is saying, let's get rid of the device, let's create a layer on top of reality, or even a parallel reality, and let's create something there. They have a big business case because obviously they are going to be the supermarket and the mall and the H&M and Burger King and everything in that world. So they have the potential to monopolize that world. They also could be the government of that world. So they could be the ones that build the streets. They could be the ones that build the plumbing, and then let other companies do something on top of that. And so this certainly has potential. The only problem is the expected adoption right now. So the expected pleasure that I can get from connecting to the metaverse today is zero. Because today I was working on a bench in my garden under the sunshine. It was 14, 15 degrees Celsius. Under the sunshine, it was 22, 23. And I would never, ever put anything on my face other than the sun. And this is the big struggle that they have. This change to Meta maybe is too soon. And Facebook and the company and Instagram, etc., they might have sort of skipped the product. So before giving us the full-on virtual experience, they probably should have designed a transitional experience for us that is not an experience that we reject, because you've tried, I've tried the headset, I've tried playing. It's very immersive. It's very it's a very powerful sensory experience, but it's not a pleasure. It becomes very, very quickly an annoyance. And this is something that, whatever vision for the future you have, you're just as good as your current device. That's the trick.
It's a very interesting reasoning here, Matteo. I'm thinking of a very successful startup that is working in the medical and elderly care environment called Embodied Labs. So Embodied still there. They're very good friends of mine, and yeah, I mean they are building virtual experiences to mainly teach caregivers or people who are learning to become caregivers uh, how to approach uh, people with dementia. And they loaded the virtual. I've tried that. I love that. Yes, it's sweaty. Yes, it's a device. Yes, you feel uncomfortable because it's not your body. However, the great value of the product is that they were able to translate in within a virtual experience so many real emotions. And I don't know, I really hope that if you are going to design a meta space, you really study what is already happening on multi levels in the world of human interactions, and pick the very best to create something that could have a future and be durable, because it's based on the best human characteristics you can put into a new invention or a new social environment, a new habitat. So, because if the guys of Embodied Labs would consult the guys of Meta, then I'm sure the guys of Meta would recognize elements that they forgot, they didn't think about yet. If I would have the chance to consult the guys at Meta, I would probably insist on the idea of understanding that experiences are memorable. And so they have to create an environment you want to go back to, or you're thinking about when whatever device is off, because it has been such an emotional experience that it is memorable also inside your real brain, inside your real room, in your garden while you are just sunbathing. So there, I see a lot of potential. But it's so the cool thing is that is the what humans already can bring uh, into a social experience, and not what a technological artifact is giving to humans. So it's the eternal battle between uh, what is really effective and really functional here in their defiance, humans or technology.
Yes, and what usually happens with technology, and we know this because of the virtual backgrounds of Zoom, that first a feature is enabled. Technology allows us to do something, change our background. The second thing that happens is we start to use completely wrong. And then after a while, we realize what is the right way of using it. Maybe, if we're lucky enough, we realize what is the right way of doing it, and what is the sustainable way, and what is the emotionally correct way, and what is the way that is most fulfilling. It gives us a great feeling. It creates that meaningful experience. And then we start doing it right. And then we say, oh, you remember the time we used to smoke? And we say, ah, yes, yes, we thought it was such a good idea. That's what happens with all the technologies. And I think in the case of the metaverse, we are still in the phase of smoking. And that's the trouble that we have with the metaverse. And if they really thought about this in terms of experience and in terms of embodied, because right now the funny aspect for me is that the presentation that is being done at Facebook Connect is the presentation of a way of disembodiment, of projection of the body, rather than a grounding experience where I feel my body, and I feel my body in connection with myself, and I feel my body in connection with others. But there is the potential there for the right use. There is the potential there for the phase where we all quit smoking, we realize it was wrong, and we move on to some more healthier behaviors.
Um, so here, I don't know. I mean, we should talk some sociology or some anthropology. Is it possible that I put it like in a almost fun comedic way? Is it possible that 90% of the people on the planet hasn't been valuing their bodies yet, and that's why an embodied experience is something that sounds weird to you and to me, because actually the perception, the idea of body is so marginal and so undiscovered that all the thoughts that we're having now while we're chatting are absolutely absent for so many brains, as the body still needs to have a long way before being considered a part of a whole person. So that is probably the major limit. So it's not in the metaverse.
It's in this verse, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad because now it sounds like I'm talking like one of these old I would say, yeah. Now let's use all the bad categories. These boomer hippies that start that, you know,
They
after
figured
after
everything
four
out
hours
already.
after
Yeah.
4 hours Christmas party, they say the problem lies in education. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, people out there. I'm not a hippie and I'm not a boomer, but it
It kind of
I've
is.
I've worked for 15 years training early childhood educators. The first 5 years of life are the most important to create the concept of the whole person. And in so many educational systems for very young children, the body is absolutely underestimated. So uh, I hate myself because I need to some way have a lecturing
No, no, but
speech here.
you don't need to have the lecture to convince us, I think, that
But yeah,
there is something missing, and I mean, again, on the theme easy to criticize, uh, as a person that would bring us to a new vision of the body and a new vision of living inside our bodies in a virtual world, Mark Zuckerberg is a terrible testimonial.
now let's. We already had like 5 minutes of negativity in here, so let's bring it to the positive side
Let's bring it to the
again.
positive. Okay.
So one thing that seems to be a hope in all this is that the whole work companies are doing to go to the new world, to the new habitat, to the hybrid format, and so on, seems to lie into the hands of managers and VPs for diversity and inclusion. And I want to talk about that because I know that you're a great advocate about this topic. But so what many people have potentially missed about the topic body and identity, body and brain, body and mind, mindfulness and bodiliness. It's something that magically those who work on the topic diversity and inclusion within organizations could push forward incredibly and just make sure that everybody's identity is respected and represented. And through that, we would bring the body very quickly, culturally, very quickly, because it's an operation that would take decades if you would have to teach it to a multitude. And then yeah, then the miracle would happen that yes, the metaverse can happen with the concept of embodied internet and embodiment, because everybody learned to respect everybody's body, including their own, before turning on the magic invisible or 5 millimeter thick device that puts us into the virtual room.
Yeah,
Ah,
I love that. I love that. I think we are exactly on the right way from this point of view.
but again, we need to talk to diversity and inclusion managers and say, hey guys, look, in the metaverse, you want things to happen in a way that works correctly. We can't repeat mistakes. We can't build cliches. And we have just to put a huge questions about the relevance of the body.
Yeah, yeah. So this brings me to also another celebration. Since I know you for so long, and since also I've done my own journey from literally not feeling connected with my body to discovering my body, and it's been a very personal journey that has been done through therapy and activities and sports and all sorts of journeys of discovery. But thanks to our relationship, I've had in my yearly review, the document that I produce at the end of the year, where I sort of sum up everything that I've learned and everything meaningful that I've experienced. So back to the experiences, what has stuck of the year, and I have divided it for the longest time in sections, and there is one really important section. It's actually my favorite section every year to fill up, which is this section that is called body, where I reveal what has been happening about my body. And we would just need to introduce this sort of idea of a body review in order to already start triggering maybe some thoughts into the world of diversity and inclusion, that maybe we should have this body conversation together with all the other important conversation. It's not a matter of hierarchy. And as you said, it's a great opportunity. If we are transitioning from different worlds and we are creating different worlds, why don't we create them without the mistakes, without the stigma, without also the handicaps that we give our own selves, because we don't realize that we are not just brains, but we're also bodies.
I have to go back to, I don't know, something that I repeatedly taught in early childhood education environment. Imagine you are a room inside a room. And that's fascinating because, yes, they're creating a space there at Meta. So they're not thinking of a poor dimension of work. It's great. It's great that they're thinking, oh, there is a social space that is also a physical space, and they designed that so it's a physical space. Um, and then, well, but you have to crack this philosophical thing that everyone is a room within a room, and then how many elements are in each room, and then how can you create a new architectonical design where all the rooms are functional and together. I don't
Honestly,
know.
I think
Call us.
this is a thought that we leave you with.
Yeah.
What if you were a room inside a room? What would happen? This was the new habitat.
My name is Tommaso Lana. Thank you very much for listening to us. We'll be seeing you soon. How about you, Matteo?
Yes, my name is Matteo, and I will be seeing you soon, virtually or in person.
So please go to fabrica.la and check all the amazing blog articles written by this guy.
And please visit the brand new embodiedlearning.co. It's a completely new site where you can see not only what Tommaso is offering right now, but also some amazing photographic evidence of his past work.
Yeah. So we talk soon. Have a good weekend. And write everything you think about what we were talking in your comments, and we'll be very happy to answer any questions or thoughts.
Definitely. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye bye.